6 to read robotics, or perhaps innovation like what they are doing at DTI. Then these same people, maybe some of the people will not have that much to pay. But your model is friendly, and that is free too. That will bring a lot of creative mind, develop a lot of creative mind going forward, and sustainability will be there forever. I think if you go that way, that will be awesome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, because when we came, we saw our name, Becky Vetele, inspiring because of Kruche. We are grateful, we don't know what to do. We want to say thank you. We at Lab 6 want to say thank you to implementers, Mr. Kafui, everybody, Mr. Jaffet, Doctor, everybody. We are saying thank you. My brother, please, we have something, we cannot say it by mouth alone. We have something on card. We want to give to Mr. Kafui.
Okay.
For supporting Bleskuchi is 10%. That made him to enter DTI. So we want to give this to him.
Wow. That is an honor.
Before we do that,
is Mr. Kafui Prebi here?
Okay, I think it's coming around.
Wow. That is an honor.
I was wondering what I had done to get a portrait, and then I knew there was another Kafui around. Kafui P and D.
Thank you, sir, for your impact.
Wow.
So, Yamoransa Model Lab 6.
I want to say something.
Okay.
You mentioned community. We are influencing community as well.
Yeah.
So because of our work, we have Mr. There. He is the chairman of Peki Education Network. He's here in our midst. I want him to witness this one so that he will give it to him for us.
Okay.
So thank you. Want to read it, or should we? So that, okay, that's all right. Thank you. Okay.
That is inspiring. A man of impact.
Okay, please don't leave. Please, boss, thank you. Because of Dr. Humphrey, our promoter, the center was located at Peki, and we are enjoying. So we want to say thank you to Dr. too. Doctor is not here. We want to give it to Mr. Kafui. So you talk to him for us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for spending time with us on this roundtable. I believe you've picked one or two nuggets from what we've said and how all of us can come together and contribute to social inclusion and innovation. Thank you so much for your audience.
Many thanks, Jonathan, for the moderation. Thank you very much. Yeah, one photo to mark the occasion, and then we are good to go. Okay, thank you. So we're going straight into our third round table, and our moderator is the Dean, University of Ghana School of Engineering and Sciences. Professor Elsie Kaufman is our moderator. Let's welcome her as she comes up the stage. And then I bring on all of her panelists to help her to deal with the topic. Professor Kaufman, thank you. Mr. Bright Yao Atiasi is Deputy Director, M&E at the National Development Planning Commission. Mr. Olufemi Adewumi is Programs Director, Meltwater Entrepreneurial School of Technology. Dr. William Owusu Odro is Deputy Director General, Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. And Mr. Emmanuel Beidu is Regional Head and Community Relations Manager for Africa, Anglo Gold Ashanti in Obuasi. And these are our panelists. We're going to be moderated by Ghana's favorite quiz mistress. And so they're looking at the role of partnerships in amplifying the impact of STEAM education. Professor Kaufman, you have an hour, and your time starts now.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, my dear panelists. It's such a pleasure to have everyone here, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to moderate this panel. As Kafui has mentioned, today we are here to talk about the role of partnerships in amplifying the impact of STEAM education. As I sat there listening, I heard a lot about partnerships. I came in before lunch. That panel was also about partnerships. We had a panel from the labs, everything about partnerships. And this panel is also about partnerships. That shows the importance of partnerships. And we have been talking a lot about partnerships over the years. And we know that partnerships are important. Where I sit at the School of Engineering Sciences at the University of Ghana, it's all about partnerships for me as well, because we've come to the realization that even in tertiary education, it's impossible to educate our young people to be ready for the world of work on our own. We need partnerships everywhere. And so this discussion is going to be about that. I know Kafui has introduced you briefly. I'm going to go around and ask you to introduce yourselves so that we situate where you are coming from, the perspective you are bringing to this conversation on partnerships. What I will try to do is have one of our panelists has to leave us at 4:30. I'll try and deal with him as quickly as possible so that if he has to leave, he can do so. And then the rest of us will continue. And I would like to leave some time for questions for those of you listening. So please, especially the young people, if you have questions, write them down, and we'll give you an opportunity to ask your questions as well. So that's our mode of action. So let's start with you, please. Very brief. We don't have too much time.
My name is Olufemi Adeomi. I work with MEST Africa. At MEST, we train software entrepreneurs, helping them build software businesses that can scale and be global. MEST is 15 years now in Ghana, impacting many countries. Our flagship program is one where we take 60 young people from all over Africa through a very competitive process, selection process, and bring them into Ghana for a one-year full scholarship program. After that, they build businesses and pitch the businesses for funding to our foundation. The ones that get funding, typically about 50-60% get funding, get supported for another 18 months in our incubator to take their businesses to the market. This is what we do at MEST. I'll speak to what we do about partnerships later.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. My name is Bright Atiase from National Development Planning Commission. I'm a Deputy Director for Monitoring and Evaluation. We are into, by our name, we are into development. And so we are able to come up with policies and be able to coordinate the development space. And also we monitor whatever has been implemented in the space. And we also do a little research. So the research actually feeds back to policy. So that is what we do at the National Development.
Thank you.
I'm Emmanuel Beidu. I'm the head of Community Relations Africa for Anglo Gold Ashanti. You probably would ask why we're here. We're a gold mining company, and and that's really what we do. But I think why we are here, because we also seek to impact beyond mining gold. What do we bring to the table as far as development of our host communities are concerned? And I have the accountability of directing and guiding more or less design of innovative interventions that will help leave positive legacies in our communities across Africa where we operate.
Good afternoon. My name is William Osodro, and just a point of correction. I'm not the Deputy Director General, but rather the Deputy Director, so that I don't get fired the moment I leave here. I'm the Deputy Director of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, Institute of Industrial Research. So our main focus is that we sit in the gap between academia and industry, trying to transform basic science and applied science into industrial application and marketable technologies. So we work a lot with academia, we work a lot with the private sector, we work a lot with the students in order to develop innovative solutions that apply to industrial products. So in short, that is what we do. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you all. I think we'll have a very good conversation because we have very interesting perspectives on the topic, right? And I'm going to start with you because you have to go, so I have to get to you first. If we were to dream, by the way, each of you will answer this one eventually. If we were to dream, how do we decide that we've been successful in all the activities that we've been doing towards STEAM education? What is it that will be the landpost to make us know that we have succeeded?
If I were to dream, I dream of a country, Ghana, where innovation, technology is the bedrock of every sector of our development. I dream of an innovative youth who are coming up with technologies that is impacting greatly in Ghanaian industry. I dream about apps, Internet of Things, kind of technologies that are owned by Ghanaian youth, that are owned by Ghanaian people, that are driving global competitiveness in industry, like we see with the Facebooks and all those other companies. So that is my dream. And I think we are getting there because we have a youth that is hungry. We have a youth that is not interested in the drudgery that was associated with hard work during mine age. The youth now don't want to work and sweat hard. And that is a good start. They are looking for easy ways, smart ways of doing it. And I dream of a youthful class of people, workers, who will not just work and sweat it out, but will be smart in the way they go about their business and transform our economy from a dependent economy to a booming economy.
That's a wonderful dream. Don't you agree? Oh, then clap. And you say, what is your dream? How will we know that we've succeeded in all the things we are doing?
For me, I think that the story of Peki Avete is more than a reality. I think we have always associated an investment or an opportunity, exploring opportunities in the science and the technology to the affluent. And to hear of the story of someone in a place like Peki, forgive me not trying to create an impression, is really telling us that we are almost arriving. And whatever we dreamt of is here with us. Years back, you would associate the very kids whose parents have the means to be able to acquire gadgets, for them to play with, to really get into some of these areas. But it is here with us. And we are seeing, as my brother said, We are seeing young men and women, kids who are so passionate and want to do something even beyond or out of what doesn't even exist. And I believe the time is now. And we need to probably put our support behind them. And the future is so beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. I think that the specific dream was that it's very, very big. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to move the attention of audience to the exhibition center. I was there and I was asking myself, what are the problems we are solving? Now, I have seen solutions of many of the problems already being solved there. I'll mention a few. I was asking myself, are these technologies helping improve local economic development? Yes, there are technologies there that are responding to local economic development. I asked myself, are these technologies responding to climate issues? Yes, there are several of them that are responding to climate issues. I asked myself whether these technologies are responding to social cohesion. And indeed, there are technologies there that will bring people together, ethnic groups together, and be able to socially, mingle. I asked myself again whether there are government dimensions in there. And then I realized that if we have good policies, most of the things we have here as models would become a reality for all of us. And then I asked myself whether we're also responding to digital innovation and technology. Of course, the underlining framework of all the things that are happening there are based on technology. So again, it means that in answering all these 5 dimensions, we are doing so well already. So the dream is actually big. It's just a matter of picking it from that lab and then putting it in industry and ensuring that we have a bigger industry, improve employment, and then we will reduce poverty drastically. So for me, the dream has already started and it's big. It's right here with us. Thank you.
In 2018, after about 30 years of corporate work, I sort of concluded that, in Africa we look too much to the government to fix all problems, and we blame the government for anything that's not been done. And I felt that as a professional, I thought that I could actually, with my network, with my influence, and with what I know, I could create impact. So I got into the impact world in 2018. And my dream then was that professionals like me could begin to use our experience, our network, to transform our world in Africa, not waiting for the government or not blaming the government. I'm not saying the government is not to blame sometimes, but to be fair, the government is just about 2% of the entire population, and I thought it was crazy that 92% of the population was waiting on 2% to fix all their problems. And we were all very intelligent people, well connected in many ways, professionals with a lot of experience. So, in 2020, as part of a lot of work I started doing, part of that was getting into MEST. I met TechAid, and they went through one of our partner programs back then, 2020, the previous year, 2022. And I think today my dream is coming to pass. I sat with Kafue and FJ there and heard a lot of wonderful things they're talking about that they're doing. My own dream is coming to pass already.
Wonderful. So we have had a dream. The dream is about our young people innovating, first of all, identifying the problems that we have and coming up with solutions to those problems and transitioning those solutions to real life in industry and in our daily lives, right? And not waiting for government to do everything for us, but understanding the power that they have to be able to do these things. That's what the dream is about. That's the dream we've heard from our panelists. So what are some of the barriers You, where you sit, you are to link up all kinds of people, the education bit of it, the industry, government and policy. You do everything, right?
That's right.
What are the barriers? Why don't we see these things already? We are seeing prototypes. We are not seeing actual implementation. Why are we where we are now? What are some of the barriers that you have seen over the years?
Thank you very much. The number one barrier that I have identified is that usually these technologies are birthed from the innovator without the input of, let's say, the user, or let's say the private sector, who will take this technology the next step. So, for instance, the beautiful innovations that we see, solar irrigated systems and stuff like that, there should be a platform where innovators will sit with private sectors, private sector organizations or businesses that will be willing to take this innovation to the next step of the market. And then the innovator with a good intellectual property rights system would enjoy from the rights of his intellectual property rights. But the problem I have is that we're working in silos. The private sector is thinking about the business without necessarily looking at the challenges ahead and how to surmount it. It's looking at, how do I make money now to survive? The innovator is also thinking about fanciful ideas without necessarily linking it to profitability. Is it going to make business sense? And also, there is not the common platform where people can actually benefit from their intellectual property rights. Even though we would say that there are some policies, it is not as strong enough in order to spur up the youth to know that, listen, if I come up with an innovation, I can kind of benefit from this innovation till I pass on to the next. If people know that there is a commercial value, there is something to gain commercially from innovating, and that even if my innovation gets into a public domain, I don't lose out completely by sharing it with a big business entity, but I have something to profit from the rest of my life, they'll be more than willing to sit down with private sector players and then co-design and then co-develop these solutions, such that the solutions will not have to wait for another person to come and see the innovation in it and to think about moving it to the market. But because it was developed with the private sector, straight away it will be ready for the market, and then the innovator also benefits straight from it.
So what I'm understanding is the partnerships are necessary right from the beginning, not when the project has reached a certain stage and then you now try to bring the partners on board. You must start the partnerships right from the beginning. Okay, that brings me to you, private sector, Anglo Gold. We know that many private sector companies, yours included especially maybe, you are very interested in community, the communities in which you operate, and you have all kinds of projects going. Would you say your partnerships are ideal? Are you seeing the kinds of outputs that you expect from the partnerships that you have with your communities?
Yeah, first of all, I would admit that understanding in partnerships and committing to the ideals of partnership is evolving. I mean, talking specifically with respect to what is happening in the mining industry. And if you understand the relationships which have existed between mining industries and their communities, is completely different and very complex. And so you tend to have mining companies assuming a paternalistic role. Sometimes, I wouldn't want to call, assume a paternalistic role and different forms of relationships. But I think recently we are becoming increasingly aware of the importance of partnership. Some of us have very much committed to driving partnership as a means, but also as an end in driving sustainable outcomes. So coming to your question as to whether we've had, ideal partnerships, I mean, we haven't. And I don't know if this is a time, but, we in the private sector, and my brother said it, I mean, the private sector exists because of profit. And interestingly, our profit metrics are very short term. So you are not looking at the next 10 years. You need to start looking at what happens every day. I mean, coming to the mining industry, we mine daily, and you don't even wait at the end of the day to measure your performance. You measure your performance hourly, even minute by minute. So every minute counts. So because of the short-term approach to measuring our performance, we tend to not commit so much to partnership, because partnership brings in itself so much complications, even understanding the mutual interest that has to exist between the two of you, and then fashion out a better platform to be able to iron out your differences and then build on your mutual interest. Sometimes it's very difficult. And especially for us, most of our partnerships come with the not-for-profit, I mean, the other side of the world. And we realize the orientation sometimes is totally different. I worked for Christian Aid before I crossed over to Anglo-Good Ashanti years back. And when I was there, I put together a number of multinational NGOs, call them that, and we designed a project, and we were supposed to drive, partnership with the private sector. I spent 2 years in that organization. We struggled even to understand the private sector language. I left them 5 years. I met some of them at a forum, and they were still struggling because we could not identify ourselves with the very language that the private sector understand. But flipping it to the other side, we still suffer the same, problem, because we believe that the other side doesn't so much understand us. And when it comes to mining companies and how they relate with their communities, even far, far, far more complex. And you want something that can turn things around easily for your potential or your beneficiaries to see measurable outcomes. But some of these investments actually take so long a time. And so sometimes you prefer going solo and then pushing your own agenda and then hitting your target and move on, than waiting for the rest for you to fashion out something common for you to work on. It's really a very complex area, difficult area that we need to make a lot of efforts to ensure it becomes successful.
At least we are talking about it now. So
Sure.
we can now start thinking about how we may address these complexities. Mr. Tiase, you see all kinds of things started coming up, measurable outcomes. You knew I was going to come to these things, right? You are the monitoring and evaluation person. If we wanted to evaluate properly what the Yamoransa Model Labs are doing, what sort of baseline do we need to be looking at now? And what sort of things should we be looking for in order to say that this model is actually making the impact that we are talking about? We hear the stories. I've been coming to AIRTAD. Stories, many of them, and you heard the story from Gambia. Is that enough to say impact is being made?
Not really. I don't know how they have started, but I believe that some assessment has been conducted, specifically needs assessment has been conducted to know the dynamics across board, because I have known that technology varies with geography and culture, because whatever you will need here may not be the same thing you may need up there or at some corner. So we need to know the needs of individuals across all the regions and districts and stuff like that. And again, if you put technology in isolation, you may be very wrong because there are cultural dynamics. What is accepted in the south may not be accepted in the north. And so we really have to do some kind of needs assessment and also know the status quo. That is basically what it is now. What is where, what do we need where, what is working, are there players in the field already? Do we have collaborators that we can leverage on and then have this kind of synergy that we want to propel our agenda forward? All of these has to be well mapped out before we start moving around planting technology. Now, to know whether we are having some impact, there are basic things we can do. Some qualitative activities we can undertake. Can we do some survey, focus group discussions to know the number of people that got training from Yamoransa model, those that are now coding, those that are now employed, those that are now, innovatively transforming lives. We also need to do that. And also from the academia side, we have to know those that we are training and also follow them through. One thing we don't do in Ghana is that when the person graduates, you're on your own. We don't follow through to see how many are employed, how many are unemployed, what are their challenges, do we need to tweak our curriculum and all of that. Many years in school, and let me come to that. You come to first year and they say basic calculus. And then you struggle through the calculus. And then you thought that you are done with calculus. And then those days there was no website. So you have to come to school, go to notice board and see your course for the semester. And then you get there and you see advanced calculus. And then you struggle through the advanced calculus. And then you thought, okay, this is advanced, it's over. Miraculously, you get there the next semester and you see further calculus. Where are we going? So I thought that at least the further calculus should be a calculus in some industry where the student is having some practical feel of all the things. Maybe calculus is a bad example, but all the engineering things you teach. Stop making it further. The theories are always further, and the guy will come out and he has all the theory but cannot relate it to the work at hand. For instance, statistics, basic statistics, advanced statistics. Go to statistical service. They'll give you CS Pro. They'll give you Stata. They'll give you all these R and Pythons and all of that, which has nothing to do with Sigma, X and Y and all of that. I mean, how to relate this? So I believe also that the fundamental thing all of us should be doing is to co-create probably the syllabus. The industry players should sit down with the academia and let's co-create the syllabus and ensure that at least at a certain point the industry is also feeding into the learning process so that we don't just give them all the theory. They get out there and we're always complaining that we can't find the people to employ. Some organizations are like that. They can't find the people to employ. Meanwhile, we are crying every day the unemployment rate is that bad. So these are some of the things we would have to do as Ghanaians and be able to move forward successfully. Thank you.
Mr. Dewumi, you are in an academic environment, and some of the things we've just heard from your co-panelists right now, we have heard over and over again. Industry and academia, we must sit together and co-develop the curriculum. Who is expected to start this? Because when you talk to people from industry, they are very busy looking at their bottom line. If you talk to the people in academia, they are comfortable doing the things they are doing. You know, a body in a state of rest or uniform motion will continue. Who is supposed to be that external force that says, sit down and work together?
That's an interesting question. So MEST is sort of pseudo-academia because we teach, but we teach more practical, real-life entrepreneurial skills. So it's really more about skill building and then practicing those skills in the real world. And maybe people like us are the people who are starting, not who will start, but who are starting what you're saying to lead. to lead this. Because yes, indeed, when people leave school, they need those practical skills to be able to survive in the real world. Unfortunately, our current schools don't prepare us for this. Plus, maybe there's a lot of things we learn that we don't. I mean, you can play it neither here nor there, that we don't need. I studied engineering, by the way, and I have never used Fourier transformation one second in my career. But this is something I broke my head over, or Laplace transformation, or any of those things. However, I think it did prepare my mind. I think it prepared me to reason a particular way that has helped me. So maybe, yes, they're difficult, or they may not be necessary, sort of, but they do prepare us also to tackle problems that we face in real life. I think organizations like ours, in partnership with people who are willing to empower us, like our donor funders, should probably now begin to look back into academia. So the world has evolved. Back when I was much younger, you didn't need to do much if you come out of school to get a job that could use your skills. Now the world has evolved so much, and our education system hasn't evolved as quick. So maybe we need to see how to begin to bring those skills, practical skills, back into academia with support of organizations like ours to partner with universities, tertiary institutions to actually bring those skills. So looking at you talked about the robots and the things that are being built here. It is one thing to have these robots that work in a classroom, but bringing them into the industry is a totally different ball game. You talked about innovation and how do we bring innovation into the real world. So innovation can work in my backyard, but bringing it into the marketplace or making it industrial, where I can produce 100,000 of that same unit with the same level of quality, and then being able to set up the distribution system that will take them as far as the farthest reaches of a country to ensure that the users, the buyers, have access to it is a different ball game. So we need to now begin to look at how to industrialize our innovations. So industrial training is a discipline that I think in Africa we've not had that much. And I think that's probably also the difference between us and the more advanced countries. So how do we begin to bring industrial education, industrial training into our education system, but even not just education system, into things like maybe organizations like ours or DTI. So I think DTI is already doing something like that. Maybe the TVET programs are where we can begin to look at how to bring industrial discipline training into our education system.
Thank you. Along the lines of not waiting for government, not waiting for someone to solve our problems, in my school, what I'm doing is I'm offering my courses for adoption. I have an initiative, the Dean's Adopt a Course initiative. So if you are in industry and you are doing something relevant to a course, don't just complain. Come and partner with the course lecturer who will be teaching the theories to make that course more relevant. I'm thinking this is one way we can start now, and then we think about the bigger things that we can do together. But we need to think this. It's not enough to just say we need to do it. We know all the things we need to do, but actually making them happen, that is our problem. I'm going to ask you your last question and then release you. I know you have to go. If you were to give our policymakers advice about partnerships, you've seen everything, you were listening, you saw the Yamoransa model, what they are doing, the amazing things they are doing. If you were to give our governments, policymakers advice, what would you say in terms of partnerships to move what we are seeing even further?
Thank you very much. My advice would be give tax incentive to industries that pick students on internship, and reward industries that give students opportunity to implement some of the theoretical models that they've learned in the classroom right within the industrial setting. Because you see, the things that we're learning in the classrooms, the calculus, the statistics, they have good application. But because they are being studied in an environment which lacks the real world application of these with these theories, it looks abstract and it doesn't look exciting. I remember a student coming to our place, and we're working on a project that was building an incinerator, and we asked him to use his heat transfer knowledge to design a wall that would ensure that the heat will be retained within the incinerator facility without going out. He looked at me as if I had asked him to do something that was space science. Then I asked him, okay, but you've been learning about heat capacity. You've been learning about conductivity and resistivity and all those things. So what kind of material would you select in building this wall which would not allow for heat to conduct through it? And then he came to his realization that, listen, the things that I'm learning in heat transfer is easily applicable in industry, in building heat like ovens and heat infrastructure. Then we got to another instant where we needed to find the area under a curve. And he was wondering, how are we going to do that? I said, but didn't you do calculus? So in your calculus, when you were doing integration, what was it about? Oh yeah, you know the formula and all those things. Okay, so I told him, now you have the formula, you have the curve, you have the equation for the curve. So use integration to find the area under the curve. I was like, oh wow, so that is it. So you see, once a person is brought within an industrial setting and have an industrial supervisor in addition to their academic supervisor, it makes learning experience very, very interesting. It makes all these abstract theories come to real. You know, AI is all about statistics. It's all about your regression and your coefficients and all those things. So if you have a regression that is about 0.99%, what does it mean? It means you are able to predict something more accurately. And that is what this AI is all about, isn't it? So once you come into an industry setting where you would have the opportunity to ask a machine to learn, and you give the machine some learning modules, and you learn and you apply your regressional statistics and everything then crystallizes from an abstract theory to a very practical application. And that will spur them to learn more. That will spur them to apply more of the theories. And that is where we're going to see great innovators within our youthful population. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Odro. I know your time is up, and so, but you may stay. If you are enjoying it and you want to cancel your next meeting, that's also fine.
I'm enjoying it so much, but unfortunately, I have some international partners also whom I gave them 4:30 for a meeting. Fortunately, my office is just around the corner, so I hope to make time and catch up with them. But it's been a pleasure being here, and thank you very much also for having me, and thank you to the co-panel. Insightful, aspects of this discussion that they have brought on board. I would have wished to wait till the end, but other things, I'll be fired if I'm not careful. So
yeah,
I have to seek.
We'll allow you to go, but if there are questions for you, we'll keep them and find you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Oh, okay. They would like us to break and take a picture before Dr. Drew leaves. right. Thank you very much for indulging us. I've been accused of asking very difficult questions. Do you agree? Oh! Okay, in that case, I'm going to stop for now and give you an opportunity to ask your own questions. Let's see if you can ask easier questions. Anybody with questions? Otherwise, I'll continue on my path.
Hi. Okay. All right. Thank you. Please, I would like to ask the panelists which of the innovation or the project interests them and they want to perhaps pursue it or direct us to get to where we are thinking about.
So that's one. Microphone is still here. Okay.
All right.
One question.
Yes. So one very interesting question. I think I'll give everybody a chance to answer this one. Which of the projects did you find exciting and interesting that captures your attention and makes you want to engage further?
I'm trying to, the one that captured my attention, I didn't see anybody to demonstrate it for me. It was one very complicated looking machine to the extreme left over there. It looks like a robot of some sorts, but yes. So that looks interesting. I mean, it looks like if it was built from local materials. So I would really like to learn a bit more about that.
Yeah, for me, two actually. One is for personal reason, and the other is for the first one. I think it's on the lab 2 or so. There was this irrigation machine who is able to, at its own time. I think there's a sensor in the soil, so based on what dynamics, it's able to water the soil. That's very innovative for me. I was advising the students there. Are they students? How are they called? Engineers. Okay, let's call them engineers now. I was advising the 2 engineers there that are you able to do a similar thing for my small fish pond in my house? I'm always on the road. I need an automatic dispenser so that I just stock in the feed, and whatever time, the fish will have meal whilst I'm away. I just had that discussion with them, and they said, yes, we can do it. So I'm expecting that's coming out very soon. The other one is actually the dried, I don't know how they call it. There's a house where they normally would, it's a heating house where they have, I saw yellow corn and some other cereal. It's a dryer. It's a dryer. That's directly solving many of the local problems. You go up north, they have to come and dry, the rains, the weather is not so good, they will collect, and then they have to bring it back. But when we have this type of dryer, you can just dry and go and sleep. And then beautifully, there's also a temperature gauge that tells you that it's dry. So you just monitor through and you are very fine. So these are solutions we need to see on the ground so that our cereals and all of that would keep safe and longer for all of us. Thank you.
I haven't had the opportunity to go around the projects, but I'm very excited to see that these innovations are not coming from students who have had an exposure at MIT, or students or kids or young men and women who have not had exposure, even in any tertiary institution in Ghana, but people within our communities who have come out with these ideas and put them into practical use. I think what I would like to see is how these ideas, these innovations can be easily applicable. I think in the wake of COVID, you probably might have heard of Obuasi Sectech coming up with, what do you call it? An auto something, Veronica Bucket something. I went to them and said, I want to give you an opportunity to do this in a large scale. And then they were struggling. They had a prototype, but how to transfer the idea into a large scale production was always a problem. And I had to bring in our engineers to support them. So I think if the innovation or the product they've been able to develop is very easy to apply without difficulties, and I think I would go for it.
I hope your question has been answered. So, in fact, most of the projects you are displaying there have a lot of interest. There is interest. The difficulty is transitioning them from the prototype stage to actual use. And I hope Yamoransa Labs, I hope you are taking note of all of this, because we need some success stories to show that we've been able to go from the demonstrations that we do every year to a product that is actually out there and commercial. I think that would be an amazing story to tell, and the impact will be clear, right? Yes.
Maybe I can just add, I know these are for like junior high school, senior high school, but if there's any project that's been handled by somebody who is already in a tertiary institution and you think you really want to take it forward, we run a program funded by UNICEF called UNICEF Startup Lab, and the idea behind the lab is actually to support prototype building, so that you actually get support to build your prototype in a way that you can go and test it in the market. So, and it is open right now. After the meeting, you can just see me, I'll give you the flyer, and you should apply. And we run it, I facilitate that, so I teach. I facilitate some of the sessions myself, and I think it's a really great experience for those entrepreneurs that want to go through it.
Yeah, this is another clear direction for partnership, right? So you graduate from your prototype here with the support of this project to move your project to another level, another way of engaging and collaborating. Okay. Mr. Baidu, the question that I asked Dr. Odru, if you were to give advice to our policymakers, how can policies be, I don't know if we need new policies, we have plenty of those. How can we implement what we have so that it's easier for private sector to engage with a project like this to see impact?
I think you rightly said, I mean, a country, Ghana, I mean, with all the think tanks we have and the quality of institutions that we have, I don't think we have not at any point in time been struggling with putting together a policy. But the challenge we've had is a commitment to see to the policy fully implemented and then seeing the outcome of that implementation. And I don't know how we can fuel this commitment at all levels. And it's a struggle we have at all levels, even from the private sector's point of view. I mean, where we even need to come in and partner, we sometimes drag our feet because the commitment is not there. But I think it is also, you mentioned this earlier on when you ask of, I think your intro question. I mean, if the design of policy does not take into consideration the importance of partnership, we have designed policies which have not taken into consideration the view of the other, beneficiaries of the policy. And it is not, the design of the policies are not inclusive enough. So, and I hear we're talking about inclusivity. So, and you can talk of effective partnership without inclusivity. So we need to be very intentional to say that every policy we want to put together to drive a particular agenda or a particular change, we need to be intentional to bring everybody on board. And then it is not enough just having the policy. We need to spell out an implementation plan. How do we fully implement the policy? Most of our policies are on the shelf because beyond the policy there is nothing. There is no any plan which is guiding how the policy is supposed to be implemented. I think if we have a plan and that plan is very much close to the institutions or the parties which are relevant to the policy implementation, we will get somewhere. And we need to have some, brother here who's left mentioned some incentive, package. The mining companies are always lambasted. I mean, if I should ask everyone here, what is your view about mining? I think seeing me even sitting here in the first place, you probably would have even a different, view about us in mining. But we might be doing something good. He mentioned, students on internship. That is something that mining companies are doing so well across all the mining operations in Ghana. On a yearly basis, you can have over 1,000 to 2,000 students who present themselves there for practical attachment with even additional support. But this doesn't get mentioned anywhere. And so I think we need to incentivize the very little efforts that others are already putting in to see to certain policies, get implemented. Then there will be encouragement. So there's supposed to be an implementation plan, and there's supposed to be another program which reward, and I think a kind of a reward and the other way around. So the name and shame sort of things, so that individuals or organizations which are taking policies and fully implementing to the letter, and here we're talking about STEAM, will duly be recognized and be encouraged even to do them more. I will mention that if recently, I think last year, I was at the World Malaria Day because Anglo-Gold Ashanti was invited. I gave a speech, and then the minister came to me and said, we didn't know Anglo-Gold Ashanti is doing so fantastic in malaria, impacting about 4% of the Ghanaian population. And this is even outside the operational areas, talking about northern Ghana and other places in Ghana. But we have been in this for over 8 years now. We are a major player when it comes to malaria. And to hear this come from that angle, it means somehow either it is coming from our end or from whatever source. I think a little more needs to be done to bring those who are already supporting some of these agenda to the light and be encouraged to do them more.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Mr. Tiase the last question, and then I'll ask you for your closing remarks. Mr. Tiase, is there a way of monitoring and evaluating partnerships? And is there a way of maybe adding a reward system for partnerships that are doing well, that bring impact? Is that something that anybody is doing here in Ghana?
At the moment, no. But NDPC, in our early days, we started actually identifying partners. So we are identifying all the development partners, all the NGOs in Ghana, where they are, what they are doing, so we can map and see who can collaborate within the space. Because we've noticed that the NGOs will just come and pump money, and if the project is over, they pull out the data they have collected, whatever is gone with them. Succession plans are really not there. Ghana, we always design projects without, thinking of down the line evaluation and, some sustainability issues. So they just come and pump money and they are gone, and the project would just go back to where the community was before they entered. So we actually started mapping identifying all the players within the space, international NGOs, local NGOs, development partners, and all the US AUA agencies. I mean, it's work we have really just started. But I also want to add that one thing we are not doing well in Ghana is, you see, we evaluate projects and all of that, but we don't evaluate policies. The policies that we churn out there, we actually do not evaluate the policies. And that's one thing that is crippling us. At least we need to evaluate the policy and see whether, you know, these policies are actually credible for us. Some policies have been there for a very long time. Could we not evaluate it and ensure that at least the current trends are being factored in there for us to see the way forward clearly? That's one thing that is really missing in Ghana, and I think that we need to have conversation and be able to, you know, evaluate all the policies. As for policies, they are there plenty. In my organization alone, we have a lot of them. As I sit here, we are developing the long-term perspective policies, which we will be chopping into medium term every 4 years. You know, but how are we evaluating these policies and know that, okay, we are on track or not on track? The other thing I would like to add is, you know, the little political interference in all the things we do. For instance, we are thinking of winning in the next elections. Nobody is thinking of how we are going to bring this to industry status. What we are thinking of now is winning the next election. So all the monies we may get in our pocket, we are earmarking it for elections and all of that. These are the things that will transform Ghana. And then we should be thinking about these more than just winning the last election, and the vicious cycle continues. So that's just the little I would like to add. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I don't think anyone has a burning question or have questions come up. Please come.
Thank you very much, Prof. Although you have asked this question, and I want them to precise on it for me. Is it the problem of the academic institutions or the private institutions or the policy makers? Because what we are seeing here is not for joke. This is something serious we all need to pay attention to. But it seems this kind of conversation here, we have had this over and over, so many words and platforms, but still live here and go, and then later nothing happens. I want to be sure, is there any way the policymakers can take these things serious, or is it that the academic institutions that is not moving to partner with the private institutions? Or I want to be sure, I want to know where the problem lies right now. Because I quite remember my brother wanted to go to, he completed secondary school, he wanted to go to to study law. And I was like, this is our country here. You have to find a course that at the end, maybe you can also be yourself and then not depend on the government for anything. He said, okay, listen to me. Brought up someone. I said, oh, choose engineering, electrical and electronic. He went in for that. So later he came back and asked him to go and do internship with some of these, people around. We paid for. Within a year, he was able to do so fantastic things for himself. And now he's doing well for himself. I was like, so people are in the university, they go and come out without even having any skill or practical experience at all. So what is the problem right now? So this is a good opportunity for me to ask this kind of question, because it has been bothering me for so I want to find out, can you please emphasize or precisely on this kind of issues for me? It's very dear to my heart. So I want to find out. Please, you have to see to the question.
The problem of the day.
Let me quickly say from the private sector's perspective. I mean, let's admit that the innovations we've seen here would need some investment and some little time to be able to develop them further into a state that can be easily be absorbed in industry. I think the problem you are seeing is a problem that we find in our country because research and development, probably beyond the university. In the university, maybe you talk of research, but research and development is never resourced. And I don't know whether we have any institution that strongly advocates, apart from what we find in our universities, for funding for research and development. And I believe that is what exactly is what we're saying is a reflection of what we find ourselves in as a country. And probably you're talking to the private sector to say, let's show interest beyond what immediately comes to your table, what you can easily take and apply to your business, show interest in the future. I think from that perspective, I totally agree with you. And I believe the private sector, we need to have a change in mindset. But to be honest, if you want the private sector to come in as collaborators to find out and invest in something that would drive their business, it should be of an immediate need. It should solve an immediate problem. Mining companies in Ghana, sorry for my bias talking about mining, we funded a lot of development and research initiatives at University of Mines and Technology, for instance, because the solution that they come up with can easily be applied to our business. We are profit-minded, and I told you about our metrics short-term, and so whatever money we have, which is putting into the business, we're looking at the immediate return, into the business. But I think beyond everything, we should have a mindset of investing in the long term, a kind of a research and development sort of activity, like what we are seeing here, to drive a certain change in the future.
I see an AIRTAD 1 year focusing on, let's say, the mining industry, getting the themes from an industry and having the young people come up with solutions to that problem, which is very relevant to somebody, so that there is also a promise to fund further whoever wins that challenge. I mean, I think such partnerships can move us more forward than just having a general theme and everybody comes up with some projects, but then no one has immediate interest. All right. I think I'm going to bring this to a close. Final words. I'm starting with you, Mr. Dewi.
Thank you very much. This has been a very interesting discussion. I will speak to policymakers. I think what policymakers can do, I believe government doesn't have money, or they don't have anywhere near enough money. But government has really, really, really big influence, and government can bring the people that have the money together. Government can bring also the people that have ideas and skills and experience together to co-create solutions and then fund it or make it happen. So my last words is our policymakers should look at engaging the private sector a whole lot more. There are many things that the government is struggling with, but the private sector could easily do those things if you would give them some incentive, if you bring them together and say, here's a motivation, go and do this. I think this is probably one thing we need to begin to look into significantly.
All right, my final words would be that, let me actually mention my Director General's name here, because he's been doing a lot in the space now. You always will see him moving around on radio stations, clarifying some of these points, because the policy document is this voluminous, and if it's not broken down for everybody's understanding, we will not all rally behind the development agenda. So Dr. Kojo Mensah Abrampa, actually he was supposed to be in the States, somewhere else, equally important assignments. So he sent me here on emergency. And so I am going to of course, tell him what has transpired here. Anywhere I go, they say, NDPC, you are the problem. Honestly, we are not the problem. We really don't implement. We put out policies for implementers to go by it. It's like the Bible for Ghana. We put it out there. You either become obedient religiously or otherwise. So we don't implement. In my village, in my community, and by the way, I'm from Peki. Yes, let me say this before. Yes, I'm from Peki, so I was very proud when I entered and I said, what is Peki doing here? And then I met the guy's man in the lab. In fact, I'll be home very soon. I'll visit your lab. That's the promise. I'll visit your lab. Yeah, so that's about it. And Madam Moderator, I think what's been started here, we need political will to be able to bring this to reality. I always believe that the policies are already there. If you look into our policy framework, you will see STEM. We said a lot of things about STEM in there. Ministry of Education will pick it up and develop, interventions around it. And then GES will hit the ground and do many other things. So what is happening here is not out of place. Last 2 weeks, I was in Kenya. I went for a program, data-driven city program. So we had an excursion to, they call that place Konza Technopolis. It's just like Silicon Valley. They are building a smart city, I think 10 kilometers squared. They are building a smart city, and even though they've just started, all the innovations they spoke about, like irrigation and all of that, is already factored into that plan. So, what I have seen here today brings that realization. I mean, I'm just looking at the final picture there that, okay, these are just prototypes that can power someone's smart city they are actually putting in place. So those who are in charge of this, do not be discouraged. The truth is that Einstein never made a dime from the beginning because nobody trusted him. So what you are doing, don't be discouraged. The fact that the money is not coming, it doesn't mean that you're not doing the right thing. I am sure that someone will see you and pick you up and then develop something out of you bigger. So let's not be discouraged in the good work we are doing. Thank you.
And I would like to add that, personally, I'm so excited to be here. There's a lot of learning I have picked. I've personally been inspired. I was telling one of my colleagues there, probably at a personal level, I think I would like, just recently I was talking with a friend, and he said, what can we do in our village to help impact the life of these disadvantaged ones? Years back, I was like them, and some opportunity, has whisked us, and we are where we are. So what can we do and put back into our community? So I was thinking outside the box, and probably this is something I may want to touch on. But as a representative of Anglo Gold Ashanti, I think we are also very proud to be here, and for us to have been identified and invited to be here, it probably means that there is something that we have been seen to be doing. Anglo Gold Ashanti has demonstrated a huge commitment to investing in education at all levels. At the basic education level, there's a lot that we're doing. We currently, even and then at the second cycle as well, we're putting up a center of excellence for robotics, or whatever we call it, at Obuasi Secondary Technical High School. We are putting up state-of-the-art classroom blocks. You probably might have seen it on telly. Recently, we commissioned one of them for one of our communities. And we are not looking at the size and how the communities look like to put up that infrastructure. We're doing this with the future in mind, because we believe 10, 20 years to come, those communities will not be the same as they are. And for each of these schools, we install, we have STEAM in mind, and we are open for collaboration. I know there's a conversation which has already started, people that we can partner with to ensure that you see, we want to diversify the economy of Obuasi. Obuasi has been, our brother from Bogoso said, sadly, that tradition seems to be, repeating itself. We need to change the narrative. And so that is what we have committed to do in Obuasi. Contributing to diversifying the economy. And this area could, promise so much opportunity for jobs in the future. We are looking at how we can provide a lot of jobs for our youths now and in the future. And we believe STEAM is the area to invest. We are open for collaboration. Let's talk. But hey, don't be discouraged. Inventors are always lonely. It's always the same. So you might see yourself lonely now, but it is the story. But we believe the time will come and that we see the impact that you are making on society. Thank you.
We've had a very good conversation this afternoon about partnerships and the importance of partnerships for driving some of the dreams that we have for the future. We started with a dream where all the things you are doing, the innovations, the thinking, the creativity goes to transforming our societies, transforming our country, even transforming the world, because we can identify our problems and apply all of these skills to addressing those problems. We've also acknowledged that we have problems. There are some gaps, right? However, the gaps should not be something that stop us from achieving the dream that we have actually articulated. So I look forward to working with everyone. We should be talking more with each other, all the various groups, because it is in understanding each other, in understanding creating the solutions that we have relevance and impact. And so on this note, I would like to thank, first of all, our panel members. Thank you so much for making time to have this conversation with us. We appreciate what you have shared, the knowledge that you have shared with us, and also the promises you have made to support the projects we are doing here to do even better. We look forward to hearing more from you in the future. I hope I get to see you again next year and the years to come, because you are strong partners and we have ways of evaluating the partnerships. Oh, no. I would also like to thank everybody associated with AIRTAD 2024 for thinking about this panel and for bringing us this far on the panel. I want to thank all of you who have paid close attention to what we've discussed, and I know you are going to be working hard to make our next interaction even better. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, our moderator, Professor Kaufman, for steering the conversation very skillfully. And to deliver the closing remarks on day 2 of AIRTAD 2024, let's welcome Mr. Jonathan Wisdom, who will set the stage to take us home, really. There you go. Thank you. You're welcome.
Wow. Wow. What an amazing day. We began with the exhibits, and tomorrow we'll begin with more exhibits. And they're, as everybody has already said, absolutely overwhelming. There are no words to describe the creativity, the ingenuity, the talent, the skills, the dedication that you students have put into this work. And so I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Thank you, panelists, for your participation in today's program. And while some of those conversations may have gone over some of your heads, and some of it did over mine as well, I found them tremendously enlightening. And I have 2 takeaways, 2 words that stick with me from the various conversations that we had this afternoon. And the first word is the word that we just heard today in this last panel, but resonated throughout, I think, all of the panels, and that's partnership. Partnerships are critical. And out of these conversations that we had today, we've begun to develop some really meaningful partnerships, enduring partnerships. And I thank you all for participating, for being open, for working with us, and the work that we're going to do together, because I guarantee you that next year when we're here for our next AIRTAD, we will have firm, solid partnerships that are advancing the work that you all are doing. The second word that sticks with me out of what we heard today is impact. And Jonathan, where are you? Is Jonathan still here? No. The panel that well, I'm going to get to that. The panel that Jonathan led was eye-opening in terms of the impact, which is a Kafui word, but it's my passion. It's my mantra. The impact, the real-world impact that we've had. Those stories that are on these posters are only two of the stories that we heard today, and about how we've made an impact through the work that we've done here at AIRTAD that has gone beyond AIRTAD. In Gambia, in each of the stories that we're told, we're in the process of creating impact, and those stories need to be documented. They will be on our website so that we can talk about them and demonstrate to others how we're making a difference, how you, the students, are making a difference, and how you are the leaders not only of your communities, of Ghana, but are the potential leaders of the world. So I'm looking forward to seeing the impact that you all make as we go forward. So thank you all for being here.
And thank you, Mr. Wisdom. The last thing we're going to do right now is going to have labs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 3.1, and Gambia for a nice big photo. Is that a good idea? Labs, are you awake? Or the chicken took over you? Please come forward. Let's put our hands together for all the members of the various teams. We're going to take a nice big group photo. Big group photo on the stairs. So please come. Where's lab 1? Where's 1? Come, all of you come together, all of you. My photographers will arrange it. Some of them will be here, some will be here, some will be here, some will be here, and some will be here. Okay? Some on the lower level. My brother, how do we spread it? Is this okay here? Where's the photographers? So some will be here. Good. You want to talk to them?
You please have to go upstairs. So shutters in front, teachers, tutors, you guys to be on the stage, please. Use the staircase.
Actually, this was a way to wake some of you who were sleeping. So now we know you're awake. Please make sure you're not hidden in the photos. The point is for you to be seen. If you can't be seen, please come to the front. If you cannot be seen, come to the front so we can see you. The whole point is for us to be able to see you. So you can leave your team members and go stand somewhere where we can see you. It doesn't matter. We just have to be seen. And while we are at it, I just want to, first of all, thank all of you for attending today. And tomorrow, I'll give you a sense of what is happening tomorrow so that you look forward to it even more than now. Let me see. So tomorrow, we start at 9 o'clock. And we're going to have our ultimate competitions, SHS category, the finals. So something to look forward to tomorrow. Yeah, there's going to be lots of joy, fun, laughter, excitement, happiness. Is everybody in the picture? Okay. On 3, you say AIRTAD. 1, 2, 3. Nice, nice. One, two, three. AIRTAD. And you can stretch the tag. Yeah. All right. One more. Boss, one more, yeah? One more. 1, 2, 3. AIRTAD. All righty. So there's going to be a lecture on artificial intelligence tomorrow, a couple of lightning talks, of course our award ceremony, and then the competitions. So something to look forward to. Let's meet here tomorrow bright and early so we can kick off at exactly 9 a.m. My name is Kafui Day. It's been a great time with you, and God willing, we'll do it again on day 3. God bless.
Modernization, she gave from one impression, street orientation, modernization.